A sudden flash in the night sky. Then darkness. That's how it began. Within seconds, entire neighborhoods plunged into blackout, airport terminals fell silent, and the hum of a modern nation, powered by electricity, aviation, and infrastructure, was violently interrupted. What unfolded next has sent shockwaves across the world, raising one terrifying question: has this conflict crossed a line that can't be reversed? Reports emerging from the rapidly escalating confrontation between the United States and Iran suggest a dramatic, new phase of warfare, one that doesn't just target military bases, but strikes at the very systems that keep a country alive. This isn't just about bombs anymore. This is about power, literally. In recent weeks, tensions between the United States and Iran have surged into open confrontation, fueled by a series of high-impact airstrikes and retaliatory attacks across the Middle East. One of the most significant developments came on March 13, 2026, when U.S. forces launched a massive precision bombing campaign on Iran's strategic Karg Island, a location responsible for handling up to 90% of Iran's oil exports. Wikipedia. That strike alone targeted more than 90 military sites, including missile storage facilities and naval infrastructure. But what made global analysts pause wasn't just the scale, it was the restraint. Despite hitting a critical energy hub, U.S. forces deliberately avoided damaging oil infrastructure, signaling a calculated escalation rather than total destruction. Wikipedia. But now, that restraint appears to be fading. New developments indicate that attacks are expanding beyond military installations, reaching into Iran's critical infrastructure, including its electrical grid and key transportation hubs. While full official confirmation remains fragmented, multiple reports and battlefield signals suggest that power systems, especially those feeding major urban centers, have been disrupted, even if temporarily. In a modern war, electricity is more than convenience. It is survival. Hospitals, communication systems, air traffic control, financial networks, and emergency services all depend on a stable grid. A targeted strike on electrical infrastructure doesn't just dim lights, it disrupts the nervous system of a nation. And that's exactly what makes this moment so dangerous. In parts of Iran, sudden outages have been reported following attacks near infrastructure zones tied to energy distribution. Though some power was restored quickly, analysts warn that even temporary blackouts demonstrate vulnerability. The message is clear: the grid can be hit, and it can be hit again. At the same time, airports, symbols of connectivity and civilian movement, have also come under pressure. Airports are not just travel hubs. They are strategic assets. They handle logistics, military coordination, and international evacuation routes. A strike affecting an airport doesn't just delay flights. It signals that nowhere is off limits. Earlier in the conflict, U.S. strikes on Iranian territory reportedly included targets like control towers and helicopter facilities linked to military operations. While those were framed as tactical military targets, the overlap between civilian and military infrastructure makes the consequences far more complex. KSAT. And now, with reports of airport disruptions surfacing again, fears are growing that aviation infrastructure is becoming a frontline in this escalating war. Meanwhile, the broader regional situation is spiraling. Iran has responded with missile and drone attacks across the region, targeting U.S. bases and allied positions in countries like Kuwait, Bahrain, and Iraq. In one incident, a strike even reached near the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad, underscoring how quickly the conflict is spreading beyond borders. The Guardian. The week. This is no longer a contained confrontation. It is a multi-front conflict with global implications. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil choke points, has been severely disrupted, sending shockwaves through global energy markets. Oil prices have surged, supply chains are tightening, and countries around the world are bracing for economic fallout. The times and now, with power grids and airports entering the target list, the nature of warfare itself appears to be evolving. This is infrastructure warfare. Instead of only destroying enemy forces, the strategy now includes weakening a nation's ability to function, cutting electricity, disrupting transport, and creating internal pressure. It's a tactic designed not just to win battles, but to break systems. But it comes with enormous risks. Because when power goes out, civilians suffer first. Hospitals rely on electricity for life-saving equipment. Airports coordinate evacuations and humanitarian aid. Communication networks depend on power to keep people informed and connected. A strike on infrastructure blurs the line between military and civilian impact. And that's where the global concern is intensifying. Even within ongoing military operations, there have been signs of hesitation. According to recent reports, there was a temporary pause in U.S. strikes targeting Iran's energy infrastructure, suggesting that decision makers are aware of how dangerous this escalation could become. The Guardian. But pauses in war are often brief. And the next move could be even more significant, because once infrastructure becomes a target, escalation becomes unpredictable. Iran has already issued warnings that any attack on its economic or energy systems could trigger retaliation against similar targets across the region. The darkness didn't just come once, it came in waves. Moments after the initial disruptions, backup systems kicked in across several regions, emergency generators humming to life in hospitals and control centers. But in a modern conflict, redundancy only buys time. What matters is persistence, and that's where the situation is becoming increasingly tense. Military analysts now believe that these strikes are not isolated incidents, but part of a broader strategic doctrine aimed at system disruption. Instead of overwhelming force in a single moment, the focus appears to be on repeated targeted pressure points, energy, transport, and communications, designed to stretch response capabilities to their limits. And that's exactly what seems to be happening. Across multiple provinces, reports indicate intermittent outages, power flickering on and off, sometimes restored within hours, sometimes lasting longer. Telecommunications have also shown signs of strain, with slowed connectivity and partial service interruptions. While authorities have moved quickly to stabilize systems, the pattern itself is what's raising alarms, because unpredictability is a weapon. When people don't know when the next outage will hit or how long it will last, the psychological impact becomes as powerful as the physical damage. Businesses hesitate, transportation slows, and daily life begins to fracture under uncertainty. Airports, in particular, have become focal points in this unfolding situation. Aviation infrastructure depends heavily on precision timing, radar systems, and uninterrupted communication. Even minor disruptions can trigger cascading delays, grounded flights, and emergency protocols. In a conflict zone, the stakes are even higher. Airports are critical for both civilian evacuation and military logistics. Recent activity suggests that at least one major airport experienced operational disruption following nearby strikes. While full details remain limited, aviation monitoring systems recorded unusual flight pattern changes, diversions, delays, and sudden cancellations, pointing to a temporary breakdown in normal operations. And in a war environment, even temporary breakdowns send a powerful message. They signal vulnerability. They show that systems once considered secure can be reached, and they force decision makers to constantly adapt, diverting resources from offense to defense. But beyond the immediate effects, there's a deeper strategic layer unfolding. Targeting infrastructure isn't just about disruption, it's about leverage. Electricity powers industry. Airports enable movement. Communication networks connect leadership with command structures. When those systems are under pressure, the entire decision-making process of a nation becomes more complicated. Every outage becomes a calculation. Every disruption becomes a potential turning point.